Hey everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of Northern Consultations. I am your main man, your friendly neighborhood soda, joined once again by Frenchie Louis Manette. How you doing, Lou?
It's Louis the Frenchie Manette. It's been 8 months. We know each other. We can't even get my name right. I'm pretty good. Thanks.
Yeah. And we are joined by a very special guest today. Somebody we've wanted to talk to for a while. Easily one of the best characters to come out of the Schmodown this year. None other than the Barbarian himself, man. How are you doing?
Thank you. So I should point out that you don't just have one guest; you have two guests.
Yes,
Elvis is here. Elvis chose to come for this interview. He'll be sitting outside on the side, though. He may want to. He gets a little warm, especially under the bright lights. So we'll see.
We know Elvis is usually very busy, so we appreciate he made some time in his busy schedule.
Okay, I just want to ask one question before we start. What is the origins of Elvis and you?
The origins of Elvis? I mean, the real origin is that.
Everyone you want to give us.
No, no. I mean, the real origin is my first day of taping. I showed up, and Christian had already decided my character was going to be the Barbarian, and it was actually the day we taped my first match. I was an alternate in case Bonnie Somerville didn't show up, and she did show up. I thought I wasn't going to have a match, so we were just. So instead, Dagnino and I were just shooting the scene of like him delivering Elvis to me, and. So basically in that scene, initially the original idea was for me to wear Elvis like this, So I actually during one of the matches earlier in the day, I was actually in order to make sure that I could wear Elvis without being uncomfortable, I did that for a full match. I'm just sitting there in the audience wearing him like this. There's no footage of it or anything, but then afterwards when we start rehearsing what we're going to do for the scene where he gives me Elvis. While we're talking, I just sitting there, just kind of naturally just stroking him like this, and it's like, well, you don't have to wear him. You could just do that. It's like, all right, and so we, and so then we, just kind of took it to a goofy extreme, and we had fun with it, and it seems like people like what we did. Although I do read in the YouTube comments, there are a couple people who hate what I do with it. They say it's very triggering.
Really, I think it's genius. I think honestly, Elvis is probably one of the breakout things to come out along with you to come out to the Schmodown this year.
And if there's one person that can work well with Over the Top Ridiculous is Tom Dagnino. So it's a perfect match.
Yeah,
exactly. And so, and by the way, so this actually used to be something. This was a stole that was attached to a jacket of Tom's girlfriend, and then he asked her if he could borrow it, and she's never seen it again. So
that is very Dagnino. Very Dagnino.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, no, he is amazing. He's a real he's. There's very little. I guess there's very little difference between the on-screen Dagnino and the real Dagnino. That's all I'll say.
I love that. Usually, that what makes the best characters is when you present yourself on stage to a heightened degree.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, Mr. Gagnon, or as the French Canadian would say, Monsieur Gagné.
Yes.
We know the origins of Elvis now. So, can you tell us a bit the origins of how you found Schmodown? What was your first either contact or ever heard about it?
So, my first origin. So I met Christian Harloff back in 2005, back when he was working at Silver Pictures, and I was an intern there at the time, and then I transitioned from an intern to being a script reader. So people that do script coverage, and they read, basically it's reading screenplays and writing book reports on it to tell executives whether or not I think they should buy it. So that's how I first met Christian. It's also how I first met Ethan Irwin, because Ethan was an executive there, Christian was an assistant, and I was an intern / reader. So over the Christian and I were became friends while we were working together, and I was always following his social media career as it was really took off. Initially it was just the Schmoes Know was just Christian and Mark Ellis in like a low production quality YouTube videos giving their takes on movies. But despite the production value being so low, the quality of the reviews were just so high. Like they became my go-to movie reviews. Like it wasn't even just because I knew Christian; it was because I really valued A, the humor that he and Mark had, and B, just the quality of the reviews. And so, I'd followed a bit, but the schmoes thing has gone a very windy path before it got to the Schmodown. And so I didn't really like follow completely closely, but I was like always sort of aware of seeing things that he posted and whatnot. But it wasn't really till Ethan had become when Ethan became the Schmodown champion was when I first started taking notice of, okay, so this is this is a game in a league. And so I'd just like see things that either Ethan would be posting about or Ethan's wife Meredith would be posting about, and I was like, okay, this seems like fun. And then I was talking to Ethan at a party once, and he, was telling me, more specifically about the game of the format. So I went home, and lo and behold, Liz Shannon Miller, who, Ethan's really good friends with, and I also know and I'm friends with. And so I watched her match, which was her debut match. And watching it, I played along at home and got every question right. And I was like, oh, I can do this. And then but I didn't want to be that guy that just reaches out and say, hey, Christian, let me do that cool thing you have, But then a few months later, Christian had posted on his personal Facebook page looking for people that were good with movie trivia, and I was like, well, I am. He's like, all right, you're in. So so yeah, no, it's been really great. I'm very glad that it did. I'm a little sad that it took me this long to really get tuned into it, because I wish I could have been doing this for years now, because it's so much fun. But I'm glad I'm in it now, and I look forward to continuing this the Schmodown journey for years to come.
What was the most surprising thing about it when you first joined up?
Surprising?
Like you knew it was a movie trivia contest.
Yeah.
But is there anything that?
I also knew that it was Christian used to write for professional wrestling, and he didn't. It's one of the things we talked about over the years. Was professional wrestling stuff, and so I knew that this game had a large professional wrestling component to it, just in terms of the character work and the improv scenes and whatnot. So I wasn't really surprised by any of that. And I actually even when I came in, I was coming up with ideas to pitch to Christian for what my character could be, and he's just like, "No, you're the Barbarian." And I was like, "Okay, there we go." But
I have a question about that. Yeah, he says you're the Barbarian. Did he give you any show notes, or did you have to work through it? What was the process of becoming the Barbarian? And once you became, is there another process that started that evolved, or just stayed the same since the beginning?
So it's interesting because he did give me some notes in terms of direction to go with it, and he basically gave me the names of some Schmodown competitors to watch, and he gave me the names of some professional wrestlers who he thought that I'd be comparable to. So I don't want to spill the beans too much on which of those were, but he did give me that kind of direction. It was like, I want you to see what this guy did and see what these guys do. And so and it's good because we have that professional wrestling shorthand that all they say is yeah, think of yourself like this. And that's boom. Okay. Makes total sense. You
got it right away then.
Yeah, exactly. So, but in terms of the actual continual development of the character, it's, I feel like, a combination of just clearly I've had some very public personal tragedies this year. And then also, just the notion of going from the in-studio tapings to the at-home stuff. It's it really, unfortunately, the character and the story stuff has taken a little bit of a hit because of that. And so I liked the character work that we were doing while I was there. And it's funny, we only did 3 tape days this season, but in those 3 tape days, I shot my first scene with Dagnino. I shot my first match. I shot let's see which other scenes. I had a scene with Ben Goddard, a scene with Clark, Wolf, where we were all picking our numbers, which sadly we didn't have the free for all. But that scene, I had a scene where I ran into Jader Paramo's post match stuff, and then of course I was involved with some pre and post show stuff with the rest of the Finstock Exchange. So it's like all that was done in like 3 separate tape days, and I felt like we were building something good. I was getting a good sense of what I thought who the character was and what I would do with the character. And then it's just such a different beast doing this all from home now. And it's, you don't get the personal interactions. You don't get the crowd reactions. It's like, I'd be able to tell when a joke worked or not, live based on how the crowd would react. But if I'm doing it over the over the computer, and I just get like no feedback back from like Mark and Christian as I'm doing a joke, and it's like I don't know if that was funny or not. Okay, but,
yeah, it creates a whole new dynamic. It really, just the way you just act will change. But for gameplay wise, I'm curious: do you prefer on like the internet, or do you prefer playing from a studio?
So I mean. I think I prefer the studio, in part because there's just so much more of the theatrics and the pageantry in the studio for the gameplay part. And I feel like that's something that I tried to bring during the digital era that I don't think a lot of other people did.
Yeah, you're the only one that still actually does a proper entrance, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen 1 or 2 other, so but for the most part, everyone just like, turns on the camera. It's like, and here we are. And so it's, some people have done other things. So it's like, I'm not the only one that has, but it's, I feel like it's definitely the exception instead of the rule this year. Like most, so many people just aren't trying to do entrances, which is sad.
Yeah, but it's sad, but at the same time, it's hard, right? Especially.
Well, that's the other thing. It's like we are very constrained right now. So.
Yeah, and then you just got people like Tom who like breaks into people's houses and just appears off screen. So I still count that as an entrance, but that just Tom.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Soda.
I'm trying to think of a question. If you have one, go right ahead.
I'm curious. What was it like when you did your first match? Right, you saw it played out. You saw the live studio matches. It's your turn. Spotlight on you. What are you thinking, and how did that match go in your head, not just in the results?
So, I mean, so I said before that I was there as a backup in case Bonnie didn't show up. So Bonnie did show up, but then someone else ended up calling in sick, and Clee Wiggins and I had both been there as the potential replacement match if this didn't happen. And so it went from we were there in case Bonnie didn't show up, and then she did show up. So we were told, okay, just kind of relax and just chill out. And so we were, just hanging out, and then they said, hey, we have another spot to fill. Are you ready to go? Would you be ready to do it? I said, sure. And initially they said, okay, it's going to be at the end of the day. So I was like, all right, I'm going to start doing some studying. And then they're like, actually it'll be in 10 minutes. It's like, all right. So,
roll the punches.
Yeah. But it was a little nerve wracking because, going in, like, we were made aware that, if you lose, it'll be a little while before you get your next singles match, and so there was some pressure on there because of that. But also for me, it was I had the one personal goal I had was I wanted to get a perfect first round, and I did get a perfect first round, which was great. Mm-hmm. And so that was, accomplished that goal right away. It's funny, in my other singles matches of the tournaments, I couldn't do that, but I was so close in the one against Bibiani because I had realized that Dakota Fanning was the correct answer before we were asked to show our answers. Oh. And I don't know if you guys remember the question. The question was who stars the little girl in War of the World? No, Charlotte's Web.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, and I wrote down Abigail Breslin, but then after I wrote it down, I was thinking about whether or not it was Dakota Fanning or not, and I realized I had written down the wrong answer, but I had zoned out on the countdown and didn't get a chance to ask for JTE. The count was already down, didn't ask for JTE, and then they say, okay, Craig, show us your answer. Barbarian, show us your answer. And if you go back and rewatch the match, you'll notice that Christian has to ask me twice to show my answer before I'm willing to show that I wrote the wrong answer down. But no, in the first match though, it was going in. Yeah, so there's a little bit of stress about knowing that if I didn't win, that it may be a while before I get another match. And poor Clee Wiggins didn't have another match the entire season. Mm-hmm. So it's and I know, but for that, she was supposed to be in the free for all. So it was just a matter of the the way the entire season just got kind of, turned over because of COVID. But it was going in, I wasn't too worried about the live audience because I perform karaoke a lot. So I'm used to performing in front of a live audience. And I'm a little bit of a hand for attention, and part of that is I come from a large family, and I have an older brother, and then my younger sister was born 14 months after me. So I have been a middle child since I was 14 months old. So I feel like that's just very much middle child syndrome of just being a little bit of a craving attention. So I like to play up for the crowd when there's a crowd for that. I mean, I think anyone who watched the that Smash-a-thon that we did could tell that I like to play up for attention sometimes.
Yeah, they look like you would be hurting the next day.
Honestly, the only thing that the only ill effects I had was from the jalapeno brine I chugged, and it didn't really bother me when I drank it, but I had the worst indigestion. I was I woke up after about an hour and a half of sleep. It was oh no, this was a bad choice. And I didn't have any Tums, so I'm just what do I do? I have Tums now. I definitely the first thing I did after I went to the store and bought Tums. Yeah. So I enjoyed playing from the studio, and I'd also even though it was my first day there as a competitor, I did come, the day that Dagnino and I shot my first scene that we did in season 6. That was the day I came to check out an entire day's worth of matches. And it was a crazy day of matches because that was the day when there was the let's see here, Ben Bateman beat the Brendan Meyer in the singles tournament. That was just a brutal match for Brendan. And there was the what else happened? That day was the Paddington 2 versus the family match where Matt Atchity challenged his own win.
Oh my god!
I was there live in studio for that. That was crazy to watch.
How did that go down? For the audience,
it went down the way it goes on camera. It was just like that, we're in the other. They announced the winner. They were going into their spiel about the rest of the tournament, and then it's Atchity and Duralde were just still up there, and Atchity says, "Hey, actually, we want a challenge." I was like, "What?" It was just so bizarre. And then, it was crazy. That was crazy. Then also, it was there for. I watched Ethan Irwin and Janine the Machine have their match against the Looney Bin, where they got upset by the Looney Bin in that tournament, and so that again, all those things happened in the same day, and it was
that is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I'd seen a whole day's worth of taping before, so I knew pretty much what to expect being there.
So I have 2 questions. 1, what's your go-to karaoke tune? And 2 is how did the Inner Geekdom come about for you?
So karaoke, the
Piano Man for me.
Yeah, I like to do. I do enjoy some Billy Joel. I think the Billy Joel I do most often is We Didn't Start the Fire, but I also do. I do a lot of his, but I was trying to think the Big Shot. No, you may be right. That's the one. You may be right. It's a fun one to do. But my go-to You know, it varies. I've been doing karaoke now with like regularity for 18 years. There's
Holy
like
shnikes.
they're full grown adults that weren't born yet before. Well, this
Wow.
I was no the summer I turned 21, so I was in college, of course, and I turned 21 at the end of the school year, and there was a bar that had just begun doing karaoke around that time, and so my friends were like, "Hey, let's go to this bar." And that just became our weekly thing. Every Monday night, we'd go to this bar and do karaoke. And so, funny story with that is that after we were there every night that summer, and then school year started back up, and we had class in the mornings. So we didn't keep going to the bar every Monday nights. And about a month into the school year, I'm walking across campus, and I just hear it's like, "Hey, Craig, yo, Craig!" And I look over, and there on the parked alongside the diag was the karaoke DJ from the bar. He's like, "Where you been, man? Where you been? Where you guys been? We need you. Come on." So
that's awesome.
I was like, God, this is, thank goodness it wasn't my priest.
Me personally, I rarely do karaoke, but when I do, I have to do Bohemian Rhapsody.
That is one of my favorites. In fact, after I'd met Dagnino and before the draft actually happened, I did a performance of Bohemian Rhapsody in a karaoke contest and posted the video online on my Facebook page. And I remember Christian specifically like tagged Dagnino in the performance, like, "Hey, check this guy out." So then we'd already met at that point, but it's like, Christian wanted to make sure that Dagnino knew exactly what I could bring to the table in terms of like performance wise. But so that used to be my go-to. I would say now my like main go-to that I love to do the most is probably "It's All Coming Back to Me Now" by Celine Dion.
Wow, that's a good
Canada's own.
great song.
Yeah, but so she uses the same songwriter that Meatloaf does, Jim Steinman.
I didn't know that did that one.
Yeah, it's a Steinman one. So I like to do it basically in the same kind of like, bravado style that Meatloaf does. Now, Meatloaf did eventually do a cover of it, but I have been doing this song since way before Meatloaf did the cover of the song.
Okay, I got to look that up.
You never heard the Meatloaf?
I don't. Not off the top of my head, it's not ringing any bells.
It's fucking epic, man.
Yeah. I will say this: when Smets told us, like I talked to Smets a few months ago, when he told me that his karaoke song was "All I Ask of You" from Phantom, I popped. Because I'm a big music theater nerd. I was like, I want to see you and Dagnino you and Kaiser do a duet of that.
Oh, man. We need to get a real one of the saddest things. I think karaoke bars are going to be one of the last things to reopen from this pandemic because singing spreads the virus. So it's going to be, they're going to need to make sure it's very safe before we're allowed to sing in packed bars again.
Which sucks. Because karaoke is so much fun.
This is why I'm sure in the near future we're gonna have to do a Schmoes of the North karaoke edition and have you and a couple of people at Yes Soda. You can be on. I'll just watch. I don't want to kill people. I was
the lead in one of the High School Musicals here, so
I'm talking about myself. So listen when I talk. You have Quebec blood. You should understand my accent no matter what, bro. Just don't. All right. Talk about Dagnino. He fascinates me. I'll say this story often, but at first I was confused about him. I did not know what the fuck I was listening or watching, and I just was intrigued. But more I got to learn him, I more realized he was a genius. He knew exactly where he was going, how he was going, and he didn't give a shit what people thought, right? He had a vision, and he went for that vision. What is it like now being in a faction with him and be really groomed by him? Can you explain the dynamics off and on screen?
Yeah, so my first exposure to Dagnino was that scene we did at the end of season 6. Mm-hmm. And in that scene, Christian had told us what he wanted us to do. And then they start rolling, and Dagnino immediately went off script and was doing just completely different than what Christian had asked us to do, and and I just rolled with it. Like I just I've never really studied improv, but I know that the main tenet of it is yes and that the agreement is funnier than disagreement, and so I just kept yes anding everything he says in the scene, and it was great. And I was like, this guy's a genius. This guy, like, so just from that moment, I was it was one of the main reasons I wanted to work with Dagnino, was because I knew that. I knew that my trivia knowledge was up to snuff, but that what if I really wanted to pop in this league, that I really needed to get the character work done, and so I knew that Dagnino was someone that could help me with character work. And just in addition to that, people think he's a little bit of a clown just from watching him on screen, but in reality, he's a very good strategist. He does get us prepared for the matches beforehand. He does a lot of just making sure their heads in the right space. What are we going to do if there's opponent's choice and spinner's choice? So if you ever watch a match with Dagnino, there's not a lot of discussion of, oh, should we stay on this? Should we move away? Like, there's a little bit of it sometimes, but there's not a lot. But or if there's like a spinner's choice or opponent's choice, there's not a lot of, hey, what are you going to do? What should we? Let's talk this through. It's like we've already talked through it before the camera's rolling. So
how did the Inner Geekdom come about? How'd you get into that tournament?
So the Inner Geekdom, when I first, the day that I showed up for that first, just to watch the taping, I was wearing a Star Wars shirt, and so there was some expectation from the people there that that saw me as a new competitor that I could possibly be playing in Inner Geekdom. So I very much watched a lot of Inner Geekdom matches to see if it was something that I could do. And when I before the actual draft happened, I reached out to Tom and they basically told him where I was with everything, and I told him, like, look, I can compete at a high level in singles right now. For Inner Geekdom, I can get there. It's just going to take a lot of studying. Because it's not just do you know the movies, it's do you know every inch of the movie. And it's and so there had been some talk I had been rewatching the movies since December. I'd been rewatching some of them just for to keep them fresh in my mind, and also because I love them. But then when they announced that there would be the tournament, I mean, to get a little, to get a little, I don't know, a bit behind the scenes, it was, we had, so they said it was going to be 2 people per faction, but they announced that the tournament was going to happen in between, when my wife Sonia had passed away and before her funeral. So so it was in that week, and I initially had told everyone, it's like, look, I my initial thought was like maybe I'll do it, but there were other people in the faction that had been volunteering, and I was like, yeah, it's like, you know what, I can sit this one out and just help with studying and whatnot. I'm completely fine with that. I don't but then it was like the day before my wife's funeral, I get a call from Dagnino, basically just kind of like talking me through, whether or not to do the tournament, because he really wanted me to do the tournament, even though I had, said I was fine sitting it out. And so we decided, okay, I'll do it. And it was, I mean, honestly, it was a really useful thing for me to just like focus my energy and attention on during those just very painful days and weeks following this, but it was from the beginning of from when I was from when I decided I'd be in the tournament to when I had my first match was only like 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And then it was like, it was only 6 weeks from when I began studying for the tournament till my match with Chance. It was like there was like a 6 week period there. So that was all just me ramping up from basically from zero to yeah. And it's like, a couple questions go a different way in that match with Chance, then maybe I advance to Mike. And if I advance to Mike, maybe, it was very, it was, I'm proud of what I did in that tournament. And I definitely want to continue with Inner Geekdom. And I think that, I know what I have to do and have what it takes to become the Inner Geekdom champion.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely. Now, going on the second part, we are curious, not just Schmodown, right? We love to understand and know about the other passions the contestants have. We got a whiff that you love wrestling, so we are going to concentrate a bit on wrestling. My first question to you is, if you could body swap do a Freaky Friday with a wrestler and do one match in their body, which wrestler would that be?
So I would only do the body swap to wrestle a match and then swap back to my body with this person.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be that short, but it would be Rey Mysterio Jr.
Oh, fun.
He is one of the main reasons I got into wrestling in the first place. Because, as a kid, I didn't really watch wrestling because I knew it was fake. And say, well, why would anyone watch this? It's fake? But then when I got into high school years, I started, some of my friends were watching it, and I would see Rey Mysterio in WCW during the LWO days.
Oh, that was great stuff.
Yeah, and just seeing the way he was able to just flip around the ring and just all those luchador matches. They had WCW had a terrific luchador faction.
Totally agreed.
So he just seeing the physicality and just the amazing things he's able to do with his acrobatics is what made me really start to get into wrestling. And then once I progress from there, realize that, oh yes, of course it's fake, and they know people know it's fake, so they use it to do all these entertaining over the top stories, and so that was I really fell in love with it once I got it, But Rey Mysterio, I would love to be able to just have a day where I'm able to do all the flips and the everything that Rey Mysterio can do in the ring.
Yeah. He's had a great career, but I still say his best match was Halloween Havoc '97 against Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, I'm trying to think if I saw that one. I don't know if I saw that specific one, but I did see a lot of his matches with Eddie.
They were so good together.
Rest in peace, Eddie.
It was just a 15 year anniversary not that long ago of his passing.
Oh wow, yeah. I saw him. I saw him in one of his last pay-per-views. Probably. I saw that in the 2005 they did the Great American Bash at Staples Center. The one with him versus JBL in the Texas Bull Rope match.
Oh, that was the year before he died. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So that was maybe. Oh, you're right. That was 2004, not 2005, because my brother Chad came out to visit when we watched it with him. Yeah. So, oh my God, yeah. No, it was an incredible match. Just seeing he was just, and his face was just covered in blood. It was
no kidding.
I think that's one of the ones they rate M for mature on the WWE network.
Oh, for sure. Apparently he actually cut a vein or something like that, or an artery. Blood. He collapsed as soon as he got through the curtain.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Another question, another thing I'm curious. Let's say we're back in studio. The entrances are back, right? For Schmodown. What entrance songs would you steal from a competitor to put in the Schmodown for your character?
Well, so in terms of current entrance themes, I think the one that David B wrote for me is phenomenal. So I wouldn't want to try to steal anyone's for that. But if we're talking about going back to when there's the licensed music, there were a couple songs that I would have loved to have used that other people were using, like Turtle Power that Ethan Irwin comes out to, which it's that would be sort of just playing up the just goofiness of my character. And then or I really enjoyed I'm a huge fan of the Killers. Ben Bateman was coming out to The Man. I would have.
That is a great tune.
Yeah, I would have loved to have come out to The Man. Playing up more just kind of the boastful, the boastfulness of it all.
Yeah.
And then there was a song before we knew that we weren't going to be able to have unlicensed music or licensed music, I was toying with the ideas of a few songs. And the two main ones that I came up with, one was Du Hast by Rammstein.
Oh, nice.
I used to do a good impression of that song when I was in high school.
And then there was a song off the Daredevil soundtrack by the band Finger 11 called Sad Exchange. And I thought that would have been a great one to use.
I'm curious, my original question, because that's actually awesome answers. My original question, though, was if you can steal the song of a wrestler. So if you can transition
a wrestler song.
A wrestler entrance and put it in the Schmodown, which one would you steal?
Well, so I would definitely then go with Slow Chemical by Finger 11, which was Kane's walkout music.
Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah, I prefer the original version of it, but I also enjoy the orchestral version that they switched it to eventually.
Yeah,
but no, fantastic song.
Yeah, that version of Kane, like when he first took off the mask, like those few years, is easily my favorite version of Kane.
Oh yeah, no,
I love it.
A great time. It was. I will say though, I enjoyed what they were doing with Kane directly before that, when he was on the rise in his single. Now, not the Katie Vick stuff. That was the Katie no, but when he had the tag team of Hurricane with him and the Hurricane, and somebody ambushed Hurricane before a 8-man tag team ladder match, and so it was just it turned it into a seven-man ladder match.
TLC, I remember.
It was Kane versus 6 other guys, and Kane still won.
Yeah,
and single-handedly, it was
I think the third TLC match they ever did, or something like that. Yeah, I remember that. It was on SmackDown, and it was who was it? Christian and Jericho was one team. I know Benoit was involved in there, and who was the other team? I think it was the Hardys.
Yeah, I was going to say the Hardys, I think.
Yeah. It was a great match that nobody really ever talks about. I mean, probably for obvious reasons, but it was pretty cool to take on everyone.
But I'm pretty sure, and here's the problem, is that immediately after that match, after he won that match, was when Triple H came out and started the Katie Vick storyline. Oh, you murdered her. I guarantee if you go back and watch that, because it was this weird, just the best thing that they ever did with Kane to the worst thing they ever did with Kane within a 10-minute span. It was
You ever heard of the Katie Vick thing there, Lou?
I have no clue the fuck you're talking about. I ask questions. Doesn't mean I know wrestling.
I feel like we shouldn't. So I feel like we should let Katie Vick remain dead, literally and figuratively.
I'll explain to you off air. It's easily, I'd say, one of the worst things they've ever done.
Yeah, I mean that was the two worst things I recall them ever do. That one was just worse because of its tastelessness. But then there was the Dawn Marie marrying Tori Wilson's dad.
Yes, that was her actual dad too.
Oh my god, that was bad. It was so boring. It was just a boring, pointless storyline that took up so much airtime, so many weeks, and had no real great payoff. And it was just it was bad. It was just bad.
One of my
unwatchable.
One of my least favorite ones. I don't know if you remember when JBL first became champion. He had Jillian Hall on his thing, and she had that really big mole. Yes. And then the boogeyman came out and bit it off her face. It's Ugh.
Yep. No, that thing was the grossest. Was the grossest.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Last wrestling question. If you could have a master class on a wrestler to really learn the A to Z secrets of what they did, who would you pick to do the master class?
Chris Jericho. Sorry, I almost said the wrong Chris there.
Hey, back in the day, you would have been a good one too. Before he went crazy.
Yeah, that's it. I don't. It's just because I just sort of brought it up a little bit. Let me just say that the Chris Benoit thing is just such a horrible tragedy, and it's as a fan, it was just so difficult to wrap my head around, and just to watch his actual friends wrap their heads around it. It's the only thing that I can think of, is that, that all that CTE study they did, because Chris Nowinski, pressed them to get his brain examined afterwards, and they said he had the brain of an 86-year-old Alzheimer patient.
I remember that. Yeah.
And but at any rate, so it's horrific what he did, and but it's also just horrific. I feel like he's both victim and monster in this, because he is victim of the disease, and it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's still, even all these years later, because it's been 13 years, it's still hard to wrap my head around. You look at his old match and you're like, this guy did that.
Yeah. And he was like, it was just like nobody there had any inkling. None of the other wrestlers had any inkling that anything was wrong with them.
Yeah.
And that's the scariest part. It's like, how, I don't know.
Did you watch the Dark Side of the Ring two-parter they did on him last year?
No, I did not see that.
I would recommend watching that series, and they actually did a two-parter on him, and the first half was him, his career and stuff like that, and then him dealing with Eddie's death, and then after that was the aftermath leading to,
Yeah.
All right. Well,
but Chris, by the way, Chris, the actual answer to that question was Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
And it's great. I'm so happy to have him in the Schmodown, because
I'm jealous.
I feel like he is the best. Maybe not the best one, top 5 all-time, all-around wrestlers. When you talk about his physicality in the ring, his moveset, in his just his mic work, his mic work is nigh unrivaled. It's like you can tell somebody is a really good wrestler when they can switch from heel to face and back again. In a same speech, in a single speech, they can do that. It's like so few people can pull it off the way that Jericho can.
Yeah, for sure. And he's easily, him and The Undertaker are probably the two best examples of how they can repackage themselves and stay relevant for so long.
Yeah.
Now, usually this part we'd ask if there's something, the watchers would not know of normally, something a bit secret or less known, but instead of that, apparently you have new tattoos, Monsieur Gagne.
Yes, exactly. So that was I was excited about the scheduling of this, because yesterday I'd been meaning for months to go and get some ink done. As they say, I've never had a tattoo before in my life, and I went and got 4 of them done yesterday.
That must have been fun.
The funny thing is that the actual getting of the tattoos didn't hurt at all, barely. Like, it almost tickled more than it hurt, because the tattoo needle or whatnot was like, it vibrates, so they had almost more of like a tickling sensation than pain. And but afterwards, immediately once we were done, because it took us 3 hours to do all this work, and then afterwards my stomach was like, feed me now. And then, your body is trying
shock.
to heal itself from being the trauma of being attacked for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And so I've been a little sore for the last day and a half. And I've been eating as much protein as I can. But I want to show off. So the reason why I've got these tattoos is, my late wife, Sonia, or Red Sonia, as we like to talk about her in the Schmodown, had been designing tattoos that she wanted to get done on herself for years, but never got around to getting them done. And so when she passed, one of the things I said was I wanted to get her tattoos done on me, because this way I can this is actual art that she did, and I can have it just kind of I mentioned on a Facebook post when I posted a picture of one of these online, was that it's I will be the canvas on which her art and creativity can be displayed for years to come. And so the first one I'll show you is on my forearm right here. So this is one that this was the one that was most important to her. It's hard to see at this angle, so I can get move the computer on. There we go.
There you
go. So
why am I moving? I'm like,
yeah. So this one was the one that was most important to her, because this up here is it's called a heartogram. It's basically like a 5-pointed star, except it rounds these off into a heart. And so this is the logo of her favorite band, which is
Him.
Him, exactly. The Finnish metal band Him. Yeah. She's a huge Him fan, and but it also combined it with this film reel. She was very much into film. She went to film school and whatnot, and worked. She and I actually also worked together at a film software company. At any rate, so the film reel unspools into the heartogram, and this is the one that she wanted. And part of the reason why she never got it done is because, she was a huge fan of Kat Von D, who, is a famous tattoo artist who also does makeup and whatnot. And Kat Von D is a close personal friend of Billy Vallow, the lead singer of Him, which is why she was always just kind of like holding out hope. The problem was Kat Von D had stopped taking appointments for doing tattoos. Oh. And so she had been holding out hope that maybe Kat Von D would reopen and start doing more, and that she might be able to get them through her. The next one I'm going to show it wasn't designed as a tattoo, but it was she had written a children's book and was drawing illustrations for it, and it was about this is the main character of her children's book. His name's Octavius the Octopus. I don't know if you can see very well there, but it's Octavius the Octopus, and he's making he bakes octopi. As you'll see, he's holding a pie in his one hand and a baked spoon in the other hand. This is again another thing that she didn't get a chance to finish, but I'm gonna. She wrote the story, and I've got a number of the illustrations that she'd done herself for it, and so I'm gonna eventually get it put together and maybe find someone to do some additional illustrations to kind of match what she was doing. And then the other two are on my shoulder blades, which I'll show you one at a time. Don't worry, when I take my shirt off, nobody's donating money for a smash-a-thon here, so I'm going to keep this relatively civilized.
Sounds good. This is the Gucci-verse.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't the Gucci-verse show, guys. All right, so the first one I'm going to show on my right shoulder blade is, speaking of inner geekdom, it is a Thestral from Harry Potter. And Thestrals appear when they only appear to people that have been touched by death. Unfortunately, Sonia's father had died 13 years ago, and so she felt a kinship to the notion of the Thestrals. So she wanted that, and she designed a tattoo on the Thestral. And now this one, I think she was based off somebody else's artwork, but she'd done some tracing and made some changes to it and whatnot. So it's let me pull it up here. So let me see here. So it's on this right shoulder blade. There we go. Can you guys see it there?
That's a bit. Yeah, there you go. Nice.
That is awesome.
There we go. And then on the other side, my left shoulder blade is one from Game of Thrones.
Ooh.
Which we were big fans of, and it's Drogon, and it's basically Drogon, the main dragon from the series, basically clinging to your back, or clinging to my back.
Oh, nice.
Is how she designed it to look. And this one was important to her in part because she loved Game of Thrones, but she was also a big fan of the Stieg Larsson series, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And so she wanted to have her own, dragon tattoo on her back, and thought this would be a great way to combine the two. So let me show it up here. Might take me a second to get the shirt adjusted properly for it.
Yeah, I remember the pain very well.
Is it exposed?
Yeah. I can see it.
Should I move forward?
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Oh, wow. Your wife was a really good artist.
Yeah. Well, so this one I think is one that she had based on some other people's work. So I think this one had some tracing involved in it. So it's not can't give her complete thing for that, but she'd actually did a combination of two parts. So she'd based the body off of one thing she'd seen and the head off of a different one. But
everything comes together. You have all four. Which one do you think she would have actually preferred? If I'm sure she sees it. Which one do you think she likes right now?
Well, I mean, I think she likes but like this one was always the most important one for her.
Yeah.
So, and I think this one actually came out the best. I mean, the other ones all came out well as well, but like this one, it was funny because like it didn't even really bleed. You know, like spoiler alert, tattoos bleed when you get them.
Yeah.
And this one didn't. The entire of them all, this is the only one that didn't bleed, and like it. I think it looks great. I think it came out really well.
Original designs like that are always the best tattoos, in my opinion. But when I got this one done, I found it funny. Like the only thing that hurt was when they were doing the straight lines. Oh. That's what hurt.
Also, it's like the only thing that like hurt a little bit for me was like when they were, the closer you get to the crease of the elbow is where it hurts.
Well,
so
I've always heard there and here are the two most painful spots.
Oof.
Well, my first tattoo ever was on my neck.
Is that a recipe for dumplings?
No,
yeah, I think it's this chicken chow mein.
No, and that's actually nightmare in Mandarin, and I don't know if you guys can see it. I have a wave. It means a new beginning after tsunami that erases the nightmare for a new tomorrow.
Nice.
So it's my first tattoo, and it was awkward. It didn't hurt, but my whole face was like every fucking nerve. But then I decided to my legs, and the back of my legs was just man, especially going up to the knee. Ooh.
I can imagine.
Now
with the shoulder one, like it didn't hurt, but my arm was twitching while it was doing it. So he was probably hitting some like nerves there.
So when I was getting mine done, it was a female tattoo artist, and I was getting that this every time she would do it, but my hand was so close to her boob that I was like secretly, I'm like trying to hold it closed. I don't want anything bad to happen here.
Oh my, because she's got a weapon in her hand. That's
and the weapon's permanent. Now, before we close out, I'm gonna hurt your brain a bit, Mr. Gagne.
Mm-hmm.
If aliens would appear and then decide, hey, no more movies. We do not like movies, and take away the movies, but are kind enough to leave us 1 week's notice. What would be your top 3 movies you would watch as a final goodbye?
So I hate this question only because it ends in movies disappearing forever. But I love it as a hypothetical in terms of just like making you think of what would you do. So, and I feel like I'd want to get like three different kinds of movies in. And the first one I'm going to say is Avengers Endgame, which personally I actually prefer Avengers Infinity War as a film to Avengers Endgame. But Avengers Endgame I think is it's a little bit longer, and just like that final hour sequence in Endgame is so beautifully done that I feel like I would want to see that just one more time, even though I prefer Infinity War. Yeah. And then let me think. I would probably say I'd probably want to see something again by my favorite filmmakers. And 2 of my favorite filmmakers are the Coen brothers and Wes Anderson. So I'd probably pick one of each of theirs. If it's a full week, like I do a movie a day, I'd probably reach out and also do something with Tarantino and something with like Christopher Nolan and something with like Denis Villeneuve and something with Taika Waititi. It's like they're all those. I think I just covered there my favorite filmmakers. Charlie Kaufman also, but more is screenwriting than is directing. But actually, maybe I would go with the Kaufman instead of the Wes Anderson. So, what I would do? I would throw in. See, now it's like, which Kaufman do I throw in? Because like
that's somebody's choice, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the best Kaufman is. Is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is the one he won his Oscar for. But my favorite Kaufman was Adaptation. So I think I'd go with Adaptation, watching that again. And it's funny because like this was before Nicolas Cage, kind of went off the rails and just started doing random stuff. But it's like Nicolas Cage is a fantastic actor. He just like, he enjoys doing these weird movies where he's just like chewing scenery and whatnot. But if you put him in a good movie, he is fantastic in it.
There is a reason he won an Oscar.
Yeah, exactly. And then he was nominated for Adaptation, playing the dual roles of Charlie and Donald Kaufman. And so then my third and final film. So I got something that was big and actiony. I got something that was, clever, creative story. And I think for my third one, I'm going to go with something that's just nostalgia and covers multiple genres. That's going to be Gremlins, the original Gremlins. It's a horror film, but it's a Christmas film and it's a kids film, and it's like, it's a lot of fun. And it's something that I've, when I was a child, it was my favorite movie. It's still on like my top 10 lists of favorite films, but it's been bumped down a few notches. I think it recently got bumped out of the top 5, but it's still like for this purpose, like I would need to see Gremlins one more time. Yeah. And love that show.
That is a great answer because you're right, it does cover everything and also throws in a little bit of comedy there too.
Yeah, exactly. It's there, and I think that all three of these have comedy in them.
That is true. Yeah. No, you're right.
All right. So that being said, we're wrapping up this edition of Northern Consultations. That being said, Barbarian, thank you so much for deciding to pop in. We really appreciate it, and we really appreciate you chugging jalapeno juice, jalapeno brine. That was. I didn't catch a lot of the other things, but that's one moment I did catch, and I wouldn't want to be you.
Only for Smiths, right? Only for Smiths.
Only for Smiths. It's like, look, and I'll say this: it's like, sure, I was being goofy and doing things for attention, but at the same time, it's like. That it was working in terms of like raising money. Like during those segments, people like I'd be like, all right, you guys got to get us to here, and I'll chug something else, and they did. So it's like, all right, I'll keep doing it.
The people asked.
It began with me just saying, okay, I'll do. I just initially set 3 things. Like, all right, if we get to $100, I'll chug this Sprite Zero, and then at $200, I'll chug some sangria, and then at $300, I'll chug some whiskey, And we got to $300 in like 10 minutes. I was like, okay, what else do I have to drink? And I'm like, I just kept looking around my apartment. It's like, there's jalapeno brine. There's some almond milk. Bitters. By the way, never chug bitters. It's disgusting.
And it's called bitters.
Yeah, shocking, right?
I do want to say, Smets posted a video, I think it was this week, where you were singing to his daughter over the phone. That was amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I was singing. I was singing to the whole family, and they played it for the daughter. Yeah, and she, look, all of my nieces and nephews, as soon as they're old enough to hear, I teach them this song. All I Do Is Win, because kids love All I Do Is Win. It's a great song. Hey, they love the hands going up and down. They love they do little shimmies for it. It's great. It's a great song.
It was a great video. Made my day.
Yeah.
All right. So that being said, Barbarian, if people want to see where or contact you, where can they find you?
So I'm on Twitter at Barbarian Craig. I'm on Twitch. We talked a lot about karaoke. I guess we only have about 5 weeks left of it. But until the end of the year, we're doing Twitch Sings Karaoke. Video Drew hosts. So you can go to her. It's Friday nights, usually twitch.tv/videodrew, or you can see me do my live streaming of my performances during that show at my user handle, which is Mogwai417. Speaking of gremlins, MOGWAI 417. And again, that's on Twitch. And then I'm also on Instagram with just my name, C as in Craig, F as in Frank, and then Gagnier, GAYNIER, as in the French word to win. Mm-hmm. And and those are the main places people can find me. And yeah, I wanted to say real quick, we haven't even talked about the fact that I feel like even though I am American, I have French Canadian blood in me. I grew up in Michigan, right, an hour away from Windsor, Ontario, where once we turn 19, that's where all the
Go across the
Michigan
border.
area folks go to drink, just cross the border and drink there. But yeah, and so I I was talking about Finger 11 earlier. They're largely Canadian, an alt rock band. I mean, they're Canadian, but I was saying it's I grew up with a lot of Canadian music and a lot of Canadian influences, and yeah, I'm happy to be here on with my as an honorary Canadian with the Schmoes of the North.
Oh, damn right.
It's an honor to have you, my sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, so Mr. Gagne, again, thank you, and you all have a good night. Goodbye.
So long.
Thank you.